Hello, this is Ben119 and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing an 8-day challenge for Pikmin 1. So the 8-day challenge is basically beating the whole game 100% in 8 Pikmin days. So I'm not sure if you know this, but about a year ago I did the game in 9 Pikmin days. And the 9-day run is quite well known. I know quite a few people have done it, like some casual YouTubers have even done it who aren't even really speedrunners. And the 9-day challenge, even though it is a challenge, I wouldn't really say it's that hard to do, because you have quite a lot of leeway on the days and you usually have a lot of extra time, and it's more of a fun challenge than an actual challenge itself. Like, it's still cool to beat the game in 9 days, but the 8-day challenge, not as many people have done it, more because it's aimed towards speedrunners. And I know for a while the 8-day run was like the standard for like world record. Like a lot of like world record runners used to do the 8-day route, and it's because it's pretty difficult and it is really fast as well, the 8-day route. But in like the last few years, top runners have been picking up the 7-day route and even the 6-day route. And the 7-day and 6-day route are super insane, and I highly doubt I'll ever get to the level of being able to pull them off. And if I ever do, I can maybe even make another series where I do this game in 7 days, then make another series where I do it in 6 days, because that would give me extra content to make, but never mind. But basically what I'm saying is, 8 days is pretty difficult, and even though it's only beating the game in 1 less day than 9-day, it's a lot harder to do, and it requires a lot better gameplay than 9-day does. That's all I'm trying to say there. But I went off about a massive rant on like 7-day and 6-day, but that's fair enough, I want to talk about them anyway. So originally when I started playing this game, I could beat the game in about, I think it was 13 days or 12 days. And I thought that was pretty good at the time, and then I saw speedrunners were doing it in like 8 days, and I just wanted to know how they were doing this. And then I saw PyPusher11, and he's a really good Pikmin runner. He's like one of the top runners for this game, shoutouts to him. He's like an old school runner for this game as well. And I basically went on his channel and he had made a 9-day speedrun tutorial. It's pretty old now and he's saying it's pretty outdated, but at the time I found it good. I gotta admit it's a little bit outdated now, but it's basically what got me into this game, and if it wasn't for that I don't think I'd even be speedrunning this game, or even doing like the 8-day challenge for example. And I just think it's a really helpful video. I'll link the playlist in the description if you want to check it out. And then when I beat the game in 9 days, I did a few runs on GameCube. I didn't upload them to YouTube at the time, I just did them for fun. And since getting back into this game, I've wanted to get better at it, so I've learned to beat the game in 8 days. And maybe over the next few days or weeks, I might practice the 8-day route properly, and then I might do some full single segment runs of the game. Single segment basically means doing like a full game run. Because I always thought that single segment meant like segmented, because segmented is where you do the game, like you do each day individually and then you put it all together to create like a splice run. But I always got them mixed up, I'm just saying that just so you know if you don't really know the terms. So yeah, that could be pretty cool to do. So I'm going to talk a bit more about this gameplay here, because I've not even talked about what I'm doing right now. So I'm going to talk a bit about the gameplay now. So I'm on day 1 at the moment. And I've not really talked about it because I'm not really limited by in-game time on this day. And no matter what, you'll always beat this area in 1 day because it's like a tutorial day basically. So it's not really very special. This area I don't think will ever be beaten. Like, you can't really get both parts at once because you can't access the other part on this day. And there's no known way to really get it. You can get it on day 2 though, which is surprising, but it's super slow to do because you have to push it out of the water with reds. So this area is always going to be done in 2 days because you have to return to it, and that's why it's a 6-day run. And the 7-day run is basically similar to the 6-day run, but you do Forest of Hope in 2 days rather than doing it in 1 day, which is slightly easier. It's still really hard because you have to do everything else in 1 day. 8-day is what I'm doing right now, and it's where you do Impact Site in 2 days, you do Forest of Hope in 2 days, Forest Navel in 2 days, you do Distant Spring in 1 day, and then you do Final Trial in 1 day. And it's really weird because Distant Spring is actually the biggest area and it's got the most parts, and it's funny how that's the easiest area to do in 1 day. Because you'd think like Forest of Hope would be the easiest because it's only got 8 parts and there's only like 2 types of Pikmin that you need. But the thing that makes Forest Navel and Forest of Hope slower to do and harder to do is because you have to grow a lot of Pikmin, because for example on Forest Navel you need at least 40 blues to collect one of the parts in the water, so you'd have to get 9 parts and grow 40 blues on that one day. And you'd have to like switch around what colours you have. Day 2 is basically the same. You have to grow a bunch of yellows and you have to bomb loads of walls, and it's just really hard to do fast. But on the 8-day run, it's basically the same kind of thing, but you come back to Forest of Hope and Forest Navel later on, after doing Distant Spring, because you want to get to Distant Spring on day 4, because for some reason in Distant Spring, there is no snitch bugs when you go there on day 4, which makes doing the area in one day a lot easier. It's technically possible to do the area in one day with the snitch bugs, but it's a lot harder to do, especially if you're newer to the game like I am, because the snitch bugs can mess you up because they fly around at random, and there's an extra blowhog near base that can mess you up if you're unlucky. And it's just a lot harder to do, but with no snitch bugs, it makes the whole route like a lot more realistic and a lot more RTA viable as well. Another thing that you have to do is on Forest of Hope we have to collect 6 parts rather than 5, because on Forest Navel we collect 5, so then we have 12 parts, because you need at least 12 parts to get to Distant Spring on day 4. Also on day 3 we need to grow at least 90 blue Pikmin, so we're going to be spending a lot of time growing Pikmin, which obviously will take a lot of our in-game time. So that's why 8-day is a lot harder than 9-day, because we have to spend a lot more time on day 2 and 3 doing more things to prepare for day 4. But after that, it's like the same difficulty. So that's like the introduction to 8-day. On day 2, I'm going to be talking more in depth about the gameplay, because there'll be a lot more going on. But yeah, if you find this interesting, please leave a like and subscribe if you're new around here. Also, check out the rest of the days and check out the 9-day series if you're interested. And yeah, I'll see you in the next episode.